The scale of one of the world's most sophisticated radars is breathtaking. On the edge of the desert, near Laverton in Western Australia, antennas stretch for nearly 3 kilometers. They're receiving signals transmitted from 80 kilometers away and travel a remarkable path to allow Australia to detect threats in the air and at sea.
This is one of the, well, I would say the world-leading over-the-horizon radar system.
The system is called JORN, Jindalee Operational Radar Network. Designed to protect Australia by giving the military the ability to see potential targets well beyond the horizon. Aside from Laverton, it also operates from Alice Springs in the Northern Territory and Longreach in Queensland to give Australia unsurpassed surveillance capabilities up to 3,000 kilometers away. JORN's control centre is at RAF Base Edinburgh, north of Adelaide. At the vast Defence Science and Technology Group site across the road, Defence limited our filming to a few unassuming buildings.
The way that these arrays are able to steer the beam in angle...
Dr. Joe Fabrizio leads the research team tweaking the high-frequency radio waves that give JORN the edge.
I think that the interest that there has been in JORN is a testament to the high class and high value over-the-horizon radar systems that defence and defence industry working together as an enterprise are capable of producing.
JORN is recognized as a world leader in over-the-horizon radar, and Canada has taken note, announcing plans to purchase this system for its Arctic defence. In March, it inked a surprise multi-billion-dollar deal for the radar.
I'm announcing that our government will be working with our long-standing defence and security partners, Australia, to build a new long-range over-the-horizon military radar system.
It really is a very significant milestone. It is the biggest defence export proposed by quite some margin, and it really holds up the extraordinary things we can do in Australia when we put our minds to it and commit.
On the right here we have a spectrogram showing the signals.
At DSTG Edinburgh, researchers are constantly analysing the signals that allow JORN to detect targets.
One of the key features of over-the-horizon radar is its down-looking viewing geometry. And what that means is that targets that flying low can't deliberately use mountains or valleys to avoid illumination and avoid detection by an OTH radar.
In other words, all that low flying you see in movies to avoid radar, that won't work with JORN. Unlike conventional radars, JORN transmits high-frequency radio waves, 110 kilometers up into the ionosphere, and they bounce back to the Earth's surface from above. Objects underneath, like planes or ships on the ocean surface, are detected when waves reflect back to JORN's massive array of receivers, thousands of kilometers away.
The federal government hesitantly allowed defence scientists to use this as an experimental facility to research the viability of an over-the-horizon radar.
JORN is the product of 50 years of DSTG development that began near Alice Springs, a project named Jindalee after an Aboriginal word that means the place the eye cannot see. Chief Defence Scientist Tanya Monroe says Australia recognized early on over-the-horizon radar would be vital.
JORN gives us the ability to have eyes and ears over a really large amount of sea and sky. And that is critical for Australia. It's critical for Australia because being a small nation, we need to understand where the risks to our country come from.
Just days after taking office, new Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney headed to the far north to unveil the deal. Canada has been under pressure from the U.S. to ramp up defense spending, especially in the Arctic, where its Cold War-era radar stations need to be replaced. Murray Brewster has covered defense for 20 years for Canada's CBC.
It's been a few years that Canada's been in the market for this. However, the interest in Australia's system is very, very new, very new. And I mean, it is not something I've heard discussed in defense circles until virtually just ahead of the announcement.
We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need anything.
Brewster believes with U.S. President Donald Trump imposing tariffs and proposing to annex Canada, Jorn had a big advantage. It's not American.
The Jorn system is operational, and it's proven, and it's also Australian. And it is an opportunity, and was presented itself as a political opportunity for Canada to not wean itself off of the U.S. defense industrial complex entirely, but certainly make a political point.
Canada has a record of extremely slow military procurement. It's taken so long to replace its F-18 fighter jets, it bought used ones from Australia to fill the gap until new planes arrive. But Tanya Monroe believes this time Canada intends to move much faster.
While the time frame is not set in stone, it's very clear that Canada are moving with urgency because they also have some really pressing needs to be able to surveil their northern reaches across the Arctic. We're deeply committed to working with them to make sure that they can have a system that meets their needs.
Canada can't afford to wait. With climate change impacting the Arctic, it is more accessible to potential threats. And a radar from the red dirt transferred to snow and ice will help detect them.